Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What do you mean there's extraterrestrials in the trees?
All the trees are infected.
What do you mean the trees are infected?
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. It is Monday and it's May the 4th, so May the 4th be with you. For anyone listening to us live, I had to do it. Come on.
I know, but why? I'm sick of seeing on my timeline today, both on Facebook, Twitter, and every single website that is geek related talking about Star Wars.
I'm Andrew. He's grumpy.
Yes, I'm also Bashful, Dopey, Doc, and all the other seven dwarfs as well.
Yes, if you're not aware, it's Stuart, and he's in such a happy mood tonight. Partly because I'm late, which was avoidable. I'm going to get stick from it, I know, for the show, but I was doing something today which was fairly important, so things ended up being a bit late. So I only just got back just before getting things ready to do the show, so wasn't able to get 8:30.
Berate him in the live chat in the bottom right hand corner of the screen now, because I will be throughout this week's show probably.
Yeah, that's fine. As Stuart's already said there, bottom right hand corner of the screen on speaker, if you're listening to us live, you can join us in the chat, give us some feedback, let us know what you're going, interact with us, insult us. Well, insult Stuart. No,
you can insult him as much as you possibly can, because you know he's going to forget actors' names, he's late by 35 minutes, hasn't seen 2 films which he was supposed to have seen. He does a brilliant, doesn't he?
You've seen one of them though, so we're able to cover that. And that was Monsters 2, which is in amongst these other films we're covering in this week's cinema section.
Yeah, Skype horror movie, which is a brilliant way to start off the show reviewing films-wise, isn't it? With Unfriended, or as it was originally called, Cybernatural, which I prefer, and another retelling of Far From the Madding Crowd.
Yeah, as well as Monsters Dark Continent, which we just talked about there as well. And then on DVD and Blu-ray?
Only 3 films, because there was another movie that you forgot to see, in the form of Angelina Jolie's Unbroken. We have Birdman and Automata.
Yep. As well as we have our usual lot of news, box office top 10, and then in DVD part of the show, DVD and Blu-ray top 10. But as I said, news first of all, so let's get started. You go ahead with your news.
Well, you've got the biggest news of the week, I think, so okay. You might as well start off.
I'll do that. It's Star Wars, I guess, seeing it's May the 4th piece of Star Wars news, so I guess you're right there. Unfortunately, not a piece of good Star Wars news. It is that Josh Trank has departed the as yet untitled Star Wars anthology movie that he was set to direct to have coming out in 2018. He did release a statement, a section of which says, "After a year of having the incredible honour of developing with the wonderful and talented people at Lucasfilm, I'm making a personal decision to move forward on a different path." The issue is with that, though, that website Hollywood Reporter has cited claims from writer-producer Simon Kinberg that it's due to problems on the set of the upcoming Fantastic Four reboot that he was helming, and that issues around that, problems with filming, and that he basically caused some issues to do with things going on behind the scenes, that then Star Wars and Lucasfilms and Disney have decided to, well, give him the boot.
Yeah, and now it's come to fruition about an hour and a half ago that it was down to erratic behaviour from Josh Trank on the set of Star Wars was the reason why he now is no longer directing the Star Wars second standalone film.
Because it was going to be the Rogue One is the one they're calling, which is being directed by none other than Gareth Evans, who's directed the first film of the Monsters series, which the sequel we're covering in the cinema section. But then this second one, what do you think this one was going to be?
Oh, I'm not too au fait with the Star Wars universe, but
I got a feeling it was going to be the Boba Fett film. Because everyone's wanting that. They're all talking about that being a big Star Wars thing, so I can't see them waiting to develop that.
That's the only thing I can think of, because there was no way we would have gotten a standalone Wookiee film, or another film to do with the Ewoks, because we know how well the Ewoks film went down. And I doubt we would have gotten an origin to do with Yoda kind of movie. So the only character that I can think of where people were eager to see his story more played out and more of the character is Boba Fett.
Yeah, the other thing as well, because there was talk about there possibly being a Han Solo standalone movie with a younger actor reprising the role, as an origins thing for Han Solo. But given that Harrison Ford is reprising the role in the Force Awakens, I don't think they do that just yet to have it so close to that coming out, and possibly then any future ones if there's going to be further films with him maybe starring in them as well. So I think they'll wait until the time when he's no longer in the series.
Yeah, just to get away from Star Wars, is there a day devoted to Trekkies? Is there actually a day of the year? Out of 365 days, there must be one day devoted to Trekkies.
Not that I can think of. No, it's just because of May the 4th rhymes obviously with May the 4th be with you. So it's been the day that's been adopted. I don't think it's officially ever made the Star Wars Day until recently. But there's not a Star Trek. There's no... it's like you have like the Terminator thing has, the date of Judgment Day is, September 9th, 1997 or something. I can't remember now, 1996, I don't know. But then that was all kind of thrown to the wind with the Terminator films having more sequels, so...
Yeah, if people out there are huge, massive, insane Trekkies or Trekkers, because I'm a big fan of the Star Trek series, but I'm not as too au fait as these geeks, no offence. If there is a day that's devoted to...
you, sir.
I know, if there is a day devoted to just Star Trek, let me know, because I am sick to death of hearing about Star Wars.
Yeah, well, unless you've got another piece of Star Wars news, then we have no more Star Wars news. The other piece of news that I've got is that a classic film, as far as both you and I are concerned, I believe, Cube from 1997, which was directed by Vincenzo Natali, is being remade by Lionsgate as Cubed, which is going to be a film featuring on the whole thing of an artificial intelligence and the evolution of that. No other details have been given available. There's no names mentioned or anything. But what do you think about this? Because it's been a while since we had another Cube film. We had the first one, then we had the two sequels to it, which did get progressively worse as they went on. The first one, though, is a classic. It's a case of what are they going to do, you think, to make this any better, or is it going to be just a terrible, terrible reboot?
Well, even though Cube 2 Hypercube isn't as good as the first one, I still think it's got some decent ideas in there because it just expanded on Cube. And then Cube Zero did the usual prequel thing. And so it was like the origins of the Cube itself. I think the way Lionsgate handle remakes and reboots, they're just probably going to do a straightforward remake of it, even though this is called Cubed, which would indicate the fourth in the series, but technically it would be the third, because Cube Zero is a Zero film, and so this one should have been Cube 3. So, to be honest, they'll probably just remake it. I don't know how much further you can go, because Hypercube was about a cube that was bigger than the original cube. The mass of the cube itself was much more bigger. So again, they can only expand.
Wasn't it a thing as well? It was like the TARDIS, where it was bigger on the inside than it was on the outside, or something like that.
Yeah, because like I said, you found out in Hypercube that it was more like 64 by 64 rather than 32 by 32, which was what Cube was. And so they can't expand on it more. 128 by 128. It's just silly that. So my guess is they'll probably change around some of the traps and things like that in the layout of Cube and just do a remake. That's probably what they're going to do. Even though Cube is more of, if you're a sort of like a nerdy science fiction fan, it's not a very well-known sci-fi film unless you're into your sci-fi and horror. So unless you're into it, you won't know it. So I don't know how many people are going to be interested in a remake.
It might be one of those films people see and they go, "Oh, I've never heard of that before," and then they go and discover the other ones. So that might be a good thing of it, that it gets people interested in the other ones, but only if it gets and it grabs hold of an audience.
Yeah. My news, all of my news is little tiny bullet point news, because, like I said last week, some of the news I'm going to prefer to do that way. But before I get onto that, I've got two pieces of breaking news that have just happened. Keanu Reeves has confirmed John Wick 2 is happening.
Okay. I thought that had been confirmed already.
No, he's officially confirmed it, that he's going to return, and the director of the first one is going to direct as well.
And probably going to have a budget about 50 times the original one.
probably. And Will Poulter is being cast as Pennywise in the It remake.
Will Poulter. I can't see that. I really can't see that.
So it's just that thing out of the two. That's the interesting piece of news. Will Poulter as
Will
Pennywise
Poulter.
the clown.
I'm trying to think who Will Poulter is. Who's Will Poulter again?
He's been in a few films. He was in that one with Jennifer Aniston in it, where he played this. They were at played like a couple. There was like I can't remember the name of it. Yeah,
I know who he is now. I'm just looking at him because I had to cheat and IMDb him. But really,
him, yes.
I mean, yeah, that's they're going young for that, aren't they? Oof.
They are indeed. But two pieces of breaking news just there. But some of the news I've got, all of this, like I said, is just bullet point stuff. But the Power Rangers film has been delayed by 6 months from its original release date of July 22nd, 2016 to now January the 13th, 2017.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, exactly. The Assassin's Creed film will finally start shooting this September.
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath because that's actually still 6 months off, but...
Yeah, I don't care, to be honest. I'm not too interested in the Assassin's Creed series.
You know the series more than I do because you're more of a gamer at the moment than I have. You've probably played it a few times. So tell me this, from what you know of it, I know you definitely know of it. You may not have played it, but do you think it's the kind of thing that will lend itself to a film rather than a game?
Well, both, actually. Because the way they handle the game is, it's the original series, because with the next Assassin's Creed game they're going away from it, but it was all about this machine called the Animus, where it sent the lead character back into different areas of time. And so it's these different ancestors and him embodying those different ancestors. So you've got a huge, massive scope to do it there. So games-wise it works. Film-wise it's an interesting idea to tackle. So it works on. It's one of those properties, video game wise, that works on both levels. But it's been a comic book series as well. So it works on multiple different levels because of how smart they actually did it with that machine, the Animus, because the Animus is the crux of everything. According to an interview with Joss Whedon, Loki was cut from Avengers: Age of Ultron as the scenes that were shot didn't work in the film.
There was talk as well of that we were going to get the Grey Hulk in Age of Ultron, but for some reason they decided when they did it, the effects didn't really work for it. It seemed a bit maybe confusing. That was what they were going to do for the scenes when the Hulk is being affected by the Scarlet Witch's powers. So it never happened, but that was what it was originally intended. So instead they changed the effects back and then just did something with his eyes instead.
Yeah, and wasn't Idris Elba's character, which appears in the Thor films, wasn't he supposed to have appeared in this one as well? Because I know during
he plays
filming,
Heimdall.
Yeah, he dropped hints that him and Loki were going to be returning, but evidently they didn't. And they're out there. They've already announced that Avengers: Age of Ultron, when it gets released on Blu-ray and DVD, is going to have an extended cut. So there's going to be an extended version of the film itself on Blu-ray and DVD when it comes out. So we might see those scenes, not in the film, but probably on the DVD as like extras.
There's also talk of there being an alternate ending, but we don't know any details of that yet. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting too.
Kingsman: The Secret Service is to get a sequel.
Yeah, we've kind of heard about this, but have they ever provided any more details yet, or is it just it's going to
Matthew Vaughn is going to be back to do the film, so that's about it, to be honest. Taron Egerton, I'm guessing he'll reprise his role, and supposedly Matthew Vaughn is going to find a way of bringing back Colin Firth's character.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that because we might get into spoiler territory. Into the film's not in on Blu-ray and DVD just yet, so we're not past like an area where we can explain the film properly. Final little bit of news that I've got is Sony Pictures have announced that the Jump Street franchise is to be turned into an expanded universe. Sony turning a film series into a universe. No surprise there. There is going to be an all-female version of it and a Men in Black crossover, which we heard hints of anyway.
Is there going to be a 21 How High movie then?
Yeah, because supposedly they are toying around with the 23 Jump Street, even though we got it up to like 46 Jump Street and the end credit sequence, which was funny. And now they're going to just take that and just destroy the funniness of the end sequence.
I just had a brilliant idea because you got Jump and How High. I just had an idea. 21 How High, and instead of having Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, they have Harold and Kumar have the Munchies, those guys in it.
Oh, God.
That was pretty good, I thought, no?
No, that was bad.
Okay, box office top 10. Starting at number 10 with The Duff.
Which we both haven't seen yet. I had a chance to watch it today as well because I've been off work.
Did you see it then?
No. I didn't.
I want to see it, actually. I do want to see it because it looks like it's got that thing of having the teen movie but not doing the whole stereotypical teen thing and actually doing some things that looks like it might be fairly funny. Don't know whether it is for sure or not, but it seems to be doing okay for itself. I mean, it's hung around for a few weeks. It is obviously on its way out because it's a number 10 now, but it's kind of earned my interest in that I do want to see it. I don't know if I'm going to manage to or not, but I'm looking forward to trying at least.
It's sort of like one of those movies where if you're a fan of films like Mean Girls and Clueless and stuff like that, you will enjoy this movie.
Well, the thing is, I'm not a fan of Clueless, but I have to say, I remember seeing Mean Girls, and it was actually pretty decent. It wasn't a bad film.
Or even Easy Ear, because it looks like it's on the lines of that kind of film.
Yep, true. Number 9 is Get Hard.
It's back into the top 10, and why? Can you provide the answer to why it's back in the top 10? Because you've seen it and I've not.
I can't even answer why it was in the top 10 in the first place to begin with, because it didn't really deserve to be there. It's got Will Ferrell in it, so it's got the draw from him. I guess there is an audience for Kevin Hart, but I'm not amongst it. And it's 2 films I've seen for him, 2 strikes. I mean, it's really... I didn't like Ride Along any more better than this. I mean, the thing as well, this... Ride Along had something and it just really didn't do anything with it. This just has nothing, doesn't even have anything to do anything with, and then it just goes and adds in loads of jokes that are very borderline or sometimes stepping over the line of racism and very questionable sort of homophobic and black-white humour as well. So yeah, I really don't get why it's back in. Other than that, I can think that there's been a lack of anything else, and people think, I don't want to see Avengers because they've maybe seen it or they're just not into Avengers, so they go and see something else instead, and that's what they go and see.
199 screens it still's been shown on after 5 weeks of release.
Only other thing I can think of is that you do get World of Cine, who occasionally do a thing every now and again. They do like like once a film's gone out of the top 10, they then put it on as like a one-off screening, like a catch-up chance, sort of thing. Yeah. And it's on a one night, and I think they put it on in all of their chains, so every single one of them in the UK, which is, I don't know, 50 sites or something? Maybe not that much, but if you imagine then they had that on for the one night, and for some reason everyone goes, oh, we're going to go and see something, what do we go, we'll get there, and go, oh, I missed that, let's see it. And so that's maybe why it got a little bit of a boost from that happening. But other than that, I can't think why at all.
Neither can I.
Child 44 is at number 8.
Which I've not seen. Sort of like flipping around from last week, considering that you were commenting on the top 10 last week and you probably saw about 4 films. It's about the same for me this week.
Yeah, well, this one is the one that's a bit of an odd thing because it's a thing of it's one of those things that if you made it up, you couldn't make it up. It's so weird. It doesn't make sense. It's the thing of it being, in a place where there supposedly is no murder committed. It's a true story that there were murders being committed. So one of the members of the policemen had to investigate it while also not appearing to investigate it. And it has. There's a good thriller there. Unfortunately, it's just not in the film because it does too much focusing on the character and things that you don't really care about, and it takes its time just going nowhere for the majority of the first hour of the film, by which point you've lost interest, and then there's another hour where it starts to get good, but as I said, by that point you lost interest. And number 7 is SpongeBob Movie Sponge Out of Water.
I have seen this one, surprisingly. Yay me. Yeah, 70 minutes it's fine. After that it just gets a bit boring. That's simple. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, but bizarre. I mean, you got to mention it's got a dolphin with a freaking laser on his head.
Time traveling dolphin with a laser on its head.
Yeah, I mean,
you've got to include the time traveling part when it comes to animals and time travel. That's where it works.
I want to see it. I genuinely want to see it. I want to see it more than I want to see the Duff, and I want to see it more than I wish I hadn't seen Get Hard. But yeah, it sounds so bat crap crazy. And number 6 is Women in Gold, which I think you haven't seen as well, have you?
Nope, I've not seen.
No, this is one that I quite liked. It's not a brilliant film. It is a kind of TV movie thing that's been blown up for the big screen, but it's an enjoyable one because I like courtroom dramas, and it's not just a courtroom drama. It's a drama, but it has some courtroom stuff in it, and it's again another thing based on a true story about the reparations being made to people whose artwork and things have been stolen from their houses by the Nazis during the war, in particular by this woman played by Helen Mirren, who is recovering this sort of artwork of a picture of her aunt, and it's a sentimental drama, but it's not schmaltzy. It's actually quite good because it also includes sort of scenes of flashbacks as to what happened and stuff, and so you actually kind of you see it, you feel it, you get into it, and I did, and also surprisingly has Ryan Reynolds in a good acting performance. Number 5 is a Met Opera performance of Cavalier Rustica Pagliacci. Yeah?
Yeah.
I said it right,
We'll just go with that.
I said it right the first time, and then I butchered it.
What I find interesting is to release this live screening of this opera in a week where there was only 8 releases out of 111 films in the chart, because there is 111 films on general release. One of them was an opera, so if you take that out of it, 7 new films out of 111.
Is there not more next week as well? There's like 15
Friday had just gone, because that's the week that we're into now. 24 releases compared to 8. Well, if you take out that live event, 7.
Just oddly enough, seeing the other film that was released ahead, opposite sort of the big film, the British film released with Avengers: Age of Ultron, was The Falling, yes.
Number 11.
Is it gone into number 1? Okay, number 11. Okay, I was wondering because I only have 10 here, and it's a shame because it seems to be getting
57 screens.
It seems to be getting good word of mouth. So
yeah,
just realising that's not there. I've
got a brand new sort of like system now from what I get the box office top 10. It's different from what I originally get it. And now I get every single film released in that week and every film on general release. So that's how I knew there's 111. And I've got statistics for everything as well. It is very nerdy.
Yeah, okay, let's not bore the audience though. We're trying to keep people here. So we'll go on to number 4, which is Home.
Yeah, people who realised we were late by 35 minutes. I wonder who could have caused that. Home, entertaining enough film. It's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be.
But it's pretty bad. Well, it's not bad. It's just very underwhelming and disappointing compared to DreamWorks Animation's previous films.
Yeah, that is true, but it's got a lot of stick, and it doesn't deserve the amount of stick that it's been given, because I've seen much worse animated films than this. So there are some interesting ideas in the film, but for DreamWorks level, considering that they released How to Train Your Dragon 2 last year, and that is in the upper echelons of animated brilliance, this just is in the okay area.
Yeah, which makes it really disappointing because it should be better. Number 3 is a movie I haven't seen still, Cinderella.
Yeah, it's a bit of a lazy remake of the animated 1940s classic.
Okay, number 2, Fast and Furious 7.
Yep, it is now the 4th highest grossing film of all time, passing the one of the Harry Potter films. Getting ready to go past Avengers as well. So Avengers was 1.6 billion. This is getting close to that now.
I think it's definitely going to pass it because it's still number 2 here, and that's impressive after, what's it been, 5 weeks?
4 weeks.
4 weeks, yeah. So normally you would see some kind of drop down in the top 5 at least, and it's still just at number 2 because it's just been knocked off the top 1 at number 1 with Avengers: Age of Ultron. If anyone's surprised, then where have you been?
Yeah, 18 million in its opening weekend in the UK, the 4th highest grossing of all time, the highest grossing of any film released in April. In the US, unfortunately, it didn't go past Avengers, the first Avengers film. It didn't go past that. It was predicted that this was going to make very, very more than Avengers, and very close to 250 million. It would have been the first film to do that. It didn't get past the 200 million mark.
And you know what they put it down to?
It was down to the boxing.
Yeah, a boxing match.
Which is a bit stupid to actually blame the boxing match on that. So, considering the boxing match was on for about 4 hours in one day, it's still that was a stupid reason to do. But the film, it's nowhere near as good as Avengers Assemble. It's more messy, it's more slapdashed. Joss Whedon seems to have realised this was going to be his last foray into the sort of like Marvel superhero franchise directing wise, and he thought he's going to stuff it with as much content as he possibly could. And at times the movie is messy. That's not to say the movie isn't good. It is good. It's still entertaining. You've got some really good humour there, and you've got some really good character development between Hulk and Black Widow, and also Jeremy Renner's character of Hawkeye. He's sort of like brought more to the forefront rather than being pushed into the background. And so it's interesting that they were building on characters which is going to be the new formation of the Avengers in future films, rather than keep on constantly concentrating on the characters which we know about. So I'm glad he expanded on that and passing the torch on to the Russo brothers, who is handling the next two Avengers films, so they can build on the newer characters. And so if you want somebody to build a franchise for you, it's Joss Whedon. That he's a good way of passing the torch on to. So it's got some good ideas. It's just not as good as the Avengers or Avengers Assemble.
I agree. I mean, it's not quite as good as the first Avengers film. I think it, though, is a worthy sequel. I think it is just more of the same. That's what I was expecting. I think a lot of people have got hung up on the fact that they were going, oh, it's going to be the best thing ever, because the Avengers, the first one, was the best thing ever because it did something that hadn't really been done in films before. So everyone's expecting it to have that amazingness, to it, and it can't, because the first one has beaten it to the punch. It's just that simple that it can't do, but it still does a good enough job to be entertaining for the 2 hours and 20 minutes that it runs. And I'm glad I've seen it. I've seen it twice. If I had more time and more things, I definitely would have seen it more by now, but I've just not had the time. So I will hopefully be seeing it more. I still haven't seen the 3D version. I've seen the 2D version both times. I kind of want to.
You don't want to, honestly, even though you're an advocate of 3D. Honestly, it would. You would be really, really annoyed with how the 3D is handled in the film. It's not very good at all, because the fact that there's so much going on, it's sort of like, I'm interested in seeing how they're going to handle the 3D in the next Mad Max movie, because it's been released in both 2D and 3D. But then I'm thinking to myself, if the action is so fast and over the top in Avengers, if you've seen the trailer for Mad Max Fury Road, then it looks even more insane. So just imagine seeing that in 3D. But yeah, it's headache-inducing. And so, going back to the hype thing that you were just saying there, it is that ugly monster of Hollywood when it comes to movies, these big, huge, massive movies. A lot of people place so much hype on it that it's only ultimately going to disappoint. And that's why I'm trying my best to tell people to not overhype the next Star Wars film, because it's only ultimately going to disappoint a lot of people. And so don't do it. Just watch one trailer of a film, not watch every single one of them, and don't build up your hopes, because I've suffered from that a few times, and I've been annoyed with myself because I've built up my hopes with a film and then ultimately came out the cinema and thought, yeah, it was nowhere near as good as I was hoping.
Okay, let's move on to the first movie of the night then. We're going with, it is the new, well, it's the really, really freaky actually talking about this, considering that I'm sitting here in the dark in front of two computer screens.
Yeah, it's Skype horror Unfriended. So if we get a Skype cut out or something like that during the review of the film, yeah, it'll be an interesting time for that to happen. But it's directed by Levan Gabredes, and it's produced by Timur Bekmambetov and Jason Blum. So Jason Blum, it's under these Blumhouse Productions, but Timur Bekmambetov originally saw the idea of this film and came on as producer of the movie and gave it to a director who hadn't actually directed much before. And so it's a very simple premise. It's about a group of friends who meet up on Skype. During the conversation that they have, all of a sudden there is somebody in the conversation who they don't know about. They think it might have something to do with a girl who committed suicide at their school a year previous, and that something could be happening. Here's a clip.
What's going on? Oh, someone's in their chonies. Stop that. Someone's in their chonies.
Oh yeah, you're a dirty girl. You're going to hell now. What?
What are you guys doing?
Going to hell with the rest of us.
What's up? Where
Hey, guys.
Where are you coming from, man?
Hey, Mitch, why you have such a big boner, bro?
What are you talking about? I totally missed it.
Shut up. Hey, Blair.
Hey, Ken.
Blair,
How are you?
Your blouse, babe.
What?
Hey, Mitch, who's your buddy? What?
Who's your buddy?
Cyber three-way.
That's not with us.
See, with Unfriended, it is one of those simple premises. What the producers and directors and writers of the film have decided to do, instead of trying to overblow things and take a complex idea and try to turn it into a horror film, they've took what is happening with the day and age technology. The main technology that people seem to use a lot on their computers is Skype, and how it affects people and what they use it for. And it is just that innocuous thing about 6 friends speaking on Skype. A lot of people who listen to this show, they probably use Skype. We do, and we get technological problems, but this is sort of like in the horror genre and down to maybe possession and all that kind of thing. So it's an interesting thing to use. And also, it's a good way of creating a horror movie on such a small budget, because the budget for the film is $1 million. It is the typical Jason Blum production thing where it is below 5 million. In this case, it's 1 million, and it made its money back in its opening day in America. So it is. It's probably going to get a sequel, because this is what happens with Jason Blum's stuff. It's got like milk franchises badly, but it is an idea that can follow through. And a little while ago, I reviewed a film called The Den, which has got a very similar premise, but that didn't follow through with it. The thing with Unfriended is, it's a smarter movie than it makes it look. If you watch the trailer, it looks really annoying, because the trailer itself is sort of like, it's full of fast cuts and fast annoyances where it's just them screaming and shouting at each other, and it's the kind of thing that you say to yourself, if this is going to happen for the 90 minutes of the film, then I'm going to be really annoyed with the characters. It does happen, but you don't get annoyed with it because it's just interesting idea. The thing that spoilt the movie for me was the absolute idiots in the screening that I went to see it, because they were just constantly talking throughout it, and not one or two people. The entire screening of it was just talking throughout the movie, and I just felt like I wanted to stand up and tell everybody to shut up, because you're spoiling an interesting premise. There are no jump scares in the movie apart from one scene, which made everybody gasp. And it is completely unexpected. I'm not going to spoil it at all, but there is one scene in the movie where you'll just go, "Gah!" It is a major gah scene, and I like when that happens, because it's the unexpected in movies. That's the thing that I love in horror movies. I'm not interested in the quiet bang stuff. I'm interested in the unexpected, something that you never can predict what happens. And I found the movie interesting. I liked the film. I was going into the movie thinking, this is probably going to be okay. But it actually was much better than I expected it to be, because they didn't try to bog it down with loads of different twists and turns. It is the destruction of a few friends because of something that might have happened.
I agree on that. I applaud it for its simpleness, but I don't agree on that. I actually got really annoyed with it for one very, very big part of it, and that is the fact of the sound mix on the film. Now, you saw this in a cinema screen. It was a fairly full cinema screen, and people they weren't talking as much, I don't think, as yours. I didn't really notice them as much. There was this thing of it was the fact of the... I don't like horror films. I genuinely don't like horror films. I actually hate supernatural ones in particular even more, but I end up going to see this with my other half, and I didn't mind it. I didn't really love it. I didn't hate it. But the thing I hated about it is that you have this horrible thing. Even it's a film that's not got scenes where... it's like shot with some bits where it's dark. You have the people there and the lights go out in the room. And that's fine. But you have this thing where then it does that annoying thing of the film goes deadly silent. And then you get this rumbling of bass. And it's so much you can actually feel... Your change in your pocket vibrating and about to fall out your pocket, because the bass is up so high. It's basically going to you, "Oh, get ready, something's going to happen," and then it's like, "Oh," and then something happens, and you just go, "Well, I don't like a jump right. I actually don't like them. That's why I don't like horror films." But I'm actually kind of annoyed that they did this. They could have made it so much better by not telegraphing what was coming, by just having it be bang, something happens, not have it be, "Oh, something's happening, get ready, get tense and everything," and then it's like banging the desk, and it's just like, it's just a cheap thing. It's laziness. It's actually a thing of it's insulting and it's annoying Don't insult your viewers. Actually get them tense. Get them to be built. Don't go like, don't actually have it so by halfway through the film, you want the audience to be, there could be a jump any second. I'm so terrified because of the fact I don't know when it's going to happen. Not, oh look, there's another rumbly bit. It's going to be now. It's going to be now, and then it's now. Or do a big rumbly bit and then have nothing happen. So you completely got the audience on edge and thinking it's going to be any second. It's going to be any second, and then nothing happens. And play with them a bit. Don't just tell them what's coming, even without saying it. You're still telling them. You're still letting them know what's coming. The one thing I really, really did like about it is the cast and the performances by them all. Young cast. Some of them are maybe been things but not sort of seen them before. And I thought that they all did a really good job of actually showing tensely on the screen and being terrified. And their performances, I thought, really shone through. Aside from that, though, I just got peeved off with the film and the way it treated the audience.
No, I don't agree with you there because, for example, I don't want to actually give away the big shocking scene of the film because it is very shocking and the way they do that, but it just instantly happens because all of a sudden just something goes quiet and you expect something to happen and then all of a sudden, boom, it does happen. And it's not that quiet, bang kind of thing. It is the sort of like the unexpected in a way of when it does happen, and it is quite unnerving. I agree with you with the cast as well. They do feel like they are proper friends, and they have secrets to tell, and they have secrets that is dug deep down inside of them. And the incident that supposedly happened with the girl committing suicide is the thing that is bringing it out of them, is bringing out all of their dark secrets. And there's a section of the film where it just concentrates on three people who were supposed to be the best of friends being completely fractured on what they would do to save themselves, how far they would sell out their own friends or the people who they're going out with to save themselves. And so it's really well handled on that front. And I liked the film. I thought the film was really well made.
I guess I'm not the expert on the horror films, but I just found that it felt a little cheap because of that. Not cheap because it's a small film and small, made a budget. It felt like cheap shots at the audience, which is what annoyed me.
And what annoyed me the most was the audience. Honestly, my cinema, which I don't mind naming and shaming, is in Sunderland. The people who work in there really need to tighten their belts more. They really need to check on the audience who are watching the film, because it's understandable when you go to see a film, you might hear one or two people talk, not the whole entire audience talk. You go to pay your money to see a film. You don't go to listen to some idiot rabbing on with their friends about what they're going to eat or what they've done the day before. I don't give a monkey's butthole about that. All I care about is what I want to see on the screen, not what you do in your life. If that's the case, pay money in a bar and get a drink. Don't pay for a ticket in the cinema to do that, to annoy the hell out of other people who intentionally go there to see films.
Okay, going on to Far From the Madding Crowd, which is an adaptation of the novel by Thomas Hardy. Not the Tom Hardy that you may know from things like Batman, but the novel writer and the sort of playwright. It is directed by Thomas Vinterberg. It is a movie that stars Carey Mulligan as Bathsheba Everdeen, who's we're introduced to at the very beginning of the film with a voiceover explaining her name was given to her by parents who died when she was young, so there's no way to no one to ask who gave it to her, why it was picked and the reason behind it. She is a woman who is growing up and living in the 1800s in England in the 1800s. She's living on this sort of small bit of land where she's got this little sort of house and things, where she's an independent woman in a time where there are really not very many independent women. And she's there with in sort of neighbouring people around her, including Gabriel Oak, played by Matthias Schoenaerts, who is a shepherd at the beginning of the film. He is the first of a few people during the movie to come along and make her a proposal, an offer of marriage, though not for sort of the reasons that she might think or she might want for love, but more for the thing of it being an acceptable thing, it being the thing that's done, that people marry to then become sort of to be a woman that's taken care of by the man, not necessarily for love. She sort of rebuttals this because of the fact that she says, I'm an independent woman, I want to be independent, you couldn't tame me, sort of a thing. Not in a horrible way, but just because of the fact that to do so in those days would signify that she sort of gives over all the power to him. And he then sort of goes off, and it's all about sort of the two of them and their sort of friendship and such, because of the fact that eventually he comes to work for her under her ownership of a farm she inherits from her uncle, which has a fire that he turns up and manages to help and save it from burning down. Here's a clip.
Bailiff Pennyways. Here is 10 shillings and a further 10.
Why?
This ends our association. You are dismissed.
I beg pardon, miss.
When my uncle was alive, this was a fine, productive farm. Since his death, it has fallen into ruin. I can
now,
only
see here,
assume.
miss, you can't get rid
I have
of
resolved to
people
have
like
no bailiff
that.
at all. I've decided to
You
manage
can do what
everything.
you like, but you
Mr. Pennyways,
can't
if you'll
just-
listen to me for a moment.
Well, you need
Mr.
people
Pennyways,
like
a
me.
fire threatened to destroy the barn, and you are nowhere to be found. I have no use for a man like you, Mr. Pennyways. You are dismissed.
Get out while you can, if I were you.
So in amongst all the things that are going on, you also have the other suitors that turn up in her life. Amongst them is the character played by Martin Sheen. Yes, Martin Sheen. And you have another man who turns up in life. I don't have the name of the actor. Tom Sturridge, who plays Sergeant Troy. And have a sort of a thing that's going on with him and a woman that he knows, played by Julie Temple. And it's a thing of that it's a film that's very much based on the performances, and the performances are very good. You have characters in there that are very well written. They are very well brought to the screen, not only by the storytelling of the camera and the way it's shot, but also by the performances, which is what makes it very nice and very engrossing, and you really do get into it and you care for the characters. The one thing that I will say I had an issue with is that the pacing of it and the pacing of the storytelling in the film, I don't know if this is based on the book that's a problem, or if it's just that the way it's been adapted. It's a film that is 2 hours long, and I found the first hour wanting. I thought there were things that I felt it's not doing enough. I thought that it's going too slow, and then there's times that when it does something and it happens quickly, and then you have another thing happens quickly, and nothing, and it felt like it was trying to catch up when it could have paced itself better and had things be a lot more set up, a lot better set up, a lot better paid off. You have things that happen, and then because the thing that's I actually found very annoying is that at certain points in the film where it fades to black, which sort of signifies the end of a certain part of it, and then it carries on the next bit. And I found those actually very off-putting, because of the fact that a lot of the time those seemed to be like it was decided to do that because they didn't have a way to end that part of it, to end that story probably. They just thought, okay, well, we'll fade to black and then we'll come back and everyone will understand it's been some time since that. It's been a little thing, instead of showing the things that happen next, it's just skipping that and going a bit later. And I actually found that very disappointing and very off-putting, which is a shame, because everything else in the film I loved. It's not the kind of film I was expecting to really enjoy. I did, though. I got thoroughly into it. I loved the writing, I loved the storytelling mostly, just not the pacing of the storytelling, and I love the performances. And I think that Carey Mulligan has been a favourite of mine ever since, in particular, seeing her in the movie with about sex addiction.
Shame.
Yep, Shame, with Michael Fassbender and her and him in it, and also when saw her in Drive, because she's fantastic in Drive as well. I've never seen anything that I can think of with Matthias Schoenaerts in it, but I would gladly see him in something else, because he's fantastic in this. Martin Sheen is Michael Sheen, who is absolutely fantastic in this, because he's playing a man who is very much a broken man, doesn't know what to do, and finds himself in a situation where he's not sure what to do or how to be, or if he wants to be there. And he's very good at putting that forward. He's very good at being kind of unintentionally disgruntled with the situation of things, and yet being kind of not horribly pathetic, but just very apathetic to himself and the situation. And it's a really, really good drama. It's just kept from being an absolutely fantastic drama by the pacing, which just, I'm afraid, lets it down. But don't let that put you off if you do like this, and even if you don't, maybe consider giving it a chance.
Well, you have seen Matthias Schoenaerts before he was in Rust and Bone.
Ah, yes. Okay, fair enough.
And he was also
very unrecognisable though for the two performances from that to this.
He was also in The Drop as well. Matthias Schoenaerts. He played the guy in the bar. Who was
there's not very much of a role in that for him though.
Yeah, he was the one who was trying to get something out of Tom Hardy's character in The Drop. Tried to actually wheel some money out of him. So yeah, he's a good actor actually, Matthias Schoenaerts. It's sort to me the film, because we've been getting a deluge of these kind of films which are set in the war or in that era of time, and it seems to be the kind of movie that your parents would watch or the grandparents would watch, and that's no offense to them, but they just seem very safe and calming films. They're not out there to actually push any buttons.
It's true. I mean, it's not out there to push any buttons. There's definitely a thing of there's kind of a feminism side of it to the film. There'll be certain people will take if they have sort of a feminist view of things and a supporter of feminism will take a certain thing from this and then may even at certain points be very, very insulted by it because of things the character does. But I think it's not about that. I think that it is just a very good drama and character drama. And it's one that's you shouldn't be ashamed to go and see it, because seeing things at the cinema, it's not all about big budget blockbuster things or big epic things. It's nice to just sit sometimes and see a good drama, especially in the cinema. You've got no distractions, easy to focus on, and I think that it deserves to be seen. I hope that it's going to be high up in the top 10. I hope at least in the top 5 next week.
I don't know if that'll be the case with it, but it also seems that a lot of these films are very female-centric movies. They centre around the female character of the film rather than showing a masculine side of it, because we're sick of seeing that kind of thing. It's annoying that in cinema you have to go back to movies that are set in the early part of the 20th century to have female-empowered movies, whereas we should have them set in no matter what period of time. And so it's nice to see that, because Testament of Youth is the other film that comes to mind for me, where it is all set sort of like in the period of the 1920s, 1930s, and it was all about the female-centric side of the film rather than the male side. So I like that cinema's doing that, but any era is good.
Yeah, it's very good. And the thing is as well, it does do that thing of making her a strong woman without basically turning her into a man.
Yeah, which is annoying when they do that.
Yeah.
Monsters Dark Continent was the film that you were supposed to review, but it was a good job that I've seen it. So
take it away then.
Yeah, you're going to really hate me, aren't you, through tonight's show if I keep on picking on you like that. But this is directed by Tom Green. Yeah, Tom Green, not the comedian Tom Green, not the annoying person Tom Green from the MTV days. This is just a British director in Tom Green. This is the sequel to Gareth Evans' film. And the thing what they've done with this is, whereas the first Monsters was just centres around a person who was hired to try and get somebody from one side of the country in America to the other side through, you might as well, they're not war-torn areas, but they feel like that because an invasion's happened where you've got these monsters in the background, but it was more about the relationship between these two characters, with the monsters sort of like appearing in the background stuff, but at times coming to the foreground, and you have some beautiful scenes in that film. What they've done with Monsters Dark Continent is sort of like done an Alien to Aliens. So whereas with the first one was very subtle and all about character building and tension and small areas, this one is just seemed to be more concentrated on action. And so Tom Green, he set the movie 10 years into the future from the events of the first film. Now the globe has been struck by these monsters. We got hints of that in the first film, but now it's been properly expanded on this. And it centres around a group of, they're not like Marines, but they're a group of soldiers who were sent into an infected area to try and rescue one of their own. And so for the first good hour of the movie. It's about them trying to rescue their friends who's been captured, and it's just a typical soldier movie. Soldiers shooting each other, loud bangs, explosions. Maybe once in a while you might see monsters. There's one scene which involves sort of like these running beasts, sort of like bull-esque kind of monsters running alongside a truck, and that's about one of the only times you see monsters until in a scene about 45-50 minutes into the movie where you get a huge, massive hulking monster which descends on two groups of soldiers fighting against each other. After the hour mark, the movie starts to change tact a little bit, and it starts to realise it needs to be more like the first one, so it goes down to subtleness, and it's just about two of the soldiers who have managed to survive the onslaught, and them surviving and coming across some monsters and coming across a small group of people who have managed to survive against the monsters themselves. So the film itself it's nowhere near as good as the original. The original had heart to it. It had nuance to it. The designs of the creatures in the film was a spectacle to be seen because you only got hints of them at times. And then when you do get to see some of them, the scenes are played out really beautiful. In this one, it just seems to be that the director is concentrating on making an action film and then realised it's a sequel to Monsters, and then thought, I'm going to have to add monsters into this movie somewhere. And so he plants them in just at times where they're not needed and they feel completely misplaced. And then he only gets the proper idea of what kind of film it is in the last half. And then it's a bit too late because you've just watched technically two different films. A soldier movie where we've seen a lot of times before done a lot better, and a monster movie where it tries to hark back to the original film and doesn't get the heart and doesn't get any of the nuance and brilliance of the first film brought across. So I didn't like it, to be honest. I was expecting much more. The trailer, if you watch it, does make it out to be an action film with monsters in it, like Aliens. But it doesn't get anywhere near the level of Aliens, and it doesn't get anywhere near the level of Monsters as well. It's just a lazy sequel. And my guess is the budget for this is much higher than Monsters, because Monsters' budget was around about £500,000. This looks like the director is getting more money because that was a successful film. This is not going to be successful.
It's a question as well I wanted to ask about. Is it one of those sequels where it literally has nothing to do with the first film? You don't even have to have seen the first film to see it?
You don't have because the fact that it is set 10 years after the incidents of the first film, and you if you've seen the first film, you will get really annoyed at how the film is paced, because that's the brilliance of the first film. The first film is paced at such a very stoic level that it helps the movie rather than hinders the film. This one, because the director thought we're going to have the typical macho soldiers doing the macho soldier thing that you normally see in these kind of movies. So getting everything from just all these soldier movies that you've seen in the past, where you've got the hoorah kind of attitude to it, and just adding that with the monsters in the background, and then in realising we've got to tone this down a little bit and having to actually reel it back completely. That's when the movie works, but you have to suffer through a lot of annoyances to get to that.
Okay, that's it for this week's cinema section. Stick around, we're going to play an ad and we'll be back afterwards with this week's DVD and Blu-ray section.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
Alright, welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. We are now into the home release section of this week's show. Coming up, we have 3 films. They are...
we have Angelina Jolie's directorial debut with Unbroken. We have Michael Keaton reprising a kind of superhero role in Birdman. And we have Antonio Banderas in futuristic indie sci-fi film Automata.
Yeah, and on top of that, we have our TV Movies of the Week and Movies of the Week. But let's kick things off with the Blu-ray and DVD top 10. So at number 10 is Tinkerbell, Legend of the Never Beast.
Yeah, we haven't seen this. We didn't see the first one. From what we hear, it's actually better than the first one, but it's still not good. So when it's a typical kind of Disney straight to video sequel thing, and kids will probably love it, but other than that, probably not worth it.
And number 9 is Interstellar.
I don't think there's anything more we can say about this other than it is a big blown epic thing, not to everyone's taste, much more intelligent than you'd think, sort of typical sci-fi film, but maybe could have done with being a little bit more action centric.
Yeah, number 8 is Night at the Museum 3.
Which I perfectly find. I thought it was enjoyable. I like it as much as I like the others, and it's a kind of nice finale to the trilogy, and I hope they leave it at that. It's an enjoyable, suitable film for that.
Yeah, I've still yet to see it. I've not seen any of the Night at the Museum films. So
the second one is actually the weakest, I think. But I mean, this, they all have a little bit of a charm to it. It's kind of like when you saw Jumanji, sort of a thing as a kid. It's got that kind of quality to it.
Yeah, it's not going to be Robin Williams' last film because he's playing a talking dog in a movie which is out in a couple of weeks' time. So that I hope that's not the Howie swan song, a talking dog. And number 7 is Dumb and Dumber 2.
Which is just dumb beyond belief, really. It should have been Dumb and Dumber 2. It should have been just dumb. Because it was to make this film. It's awful. Horrible. It just feels like a pastiche of the first one. And it's actually just more disgusting and horrible, but not anywhere near as even funny as the first one.
Yeah, they all should be ashamed of themselves. And number 6 is the Hobbit trilogy.
Yeah, we'll sort of leave that. It's the 3 films from it, so yeah.
And number 5 is Paddington,
which is fantastic, a great film. I'm not surprised it's actually gone up this week in the top 10. It deserves to. Great kids film, great family film, one for everyone.
Number 4 is a double bill of Exodus and Kingdom of Heaven new entry, but we'll get on to Exodus in a moment.
Yeah.
And number 3 is the new entry for Annie.
I can actually just say I don't know which version it is that's included in that double pack of Exodus and Kingdom of Heaven for Kingdom of Heaven, but if it is the theatrical version, don't bother. Get the extended version, the director's cut version, which is available on Blu-ray and DVD. So if the pack has got the one that's about 2 hours long, don't bother. If the pack's got the one that's about 3 hours long, then consider it. But it's the theatrical one, awful.
Yeah, and especially if you're going to watch Exodus and Kingdom of Heaven together, get better cushions on your seat because you're going to have a very sore bottom by the end of it.
Yeah, Annie, it was a disappointing film. It isn't got the magic of the original one, which I have a fond place for in my heart, and I grew up watching. And it doesn't have the magic. It doesn't have the heart of the original one. It is literally a carbon copy clone, but it's not even. It's a defective clone. It's defective. That's what it is.
I thought we got away from movies being described as for the MTV generation, but this is definitely deserves to be in that category.
Well, saying that is actually a bit of an insult to the MTV generation.
No, the MTV generation was dumb because the amount of horror films that we got released in sort of like the MTV generation were really, really bad ones.
But the MTV generation is responsible for Scream.
Yeah, but they're also responsible for everything that is involved with the Jackass series and Dirty Sanchez and anything that look what they're doing with the Scream TV series. Number 2 is. And number 2 is a new entry for Exodus, Gods and Kings,
which is quite. I actually find it really disappointing to see. I mean, how far Ridley Scott has kind of fallen. The thing is, I'm not a religious person. I don't sort of believe in religion, but I think films, majority of the time, about religion are entertaining and quite interesting to see what comes of them. And this it's badly paced. It's badly written. I found that parts of it. It's just honestly. I was bored, and I just thought it was honestly just a complete waste of material, including the material of the Bible.
Yeah, and at number 1 is The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah, which I enjoy. I do think it's the weakest of all the films, but I still enjoyed it. It has now become a thing of it is close-up shot, wide shot, sweeping vista shot. Rinse, repeat, do again, and do it for an extra hour longer than you need to, and then do it for another 2 other films that you need to. And I mean, I like the films, but I love The Lord of the Rings. That's pretty much how everyone classes it, and that's why it's not The Lord of the Rings. Doesn't have the magic. It is the sequel that you didn't really want.
Yeah, it's a trilogy that I didn't really want, to be honest. I'm more interested to see what Guillermo del Toro would have done with the series when he had the idea of coming up with 2 films rather than 3. And my guess is he would have made it more fantastical and darker than what Peter Jackson managed to actually produce. I thought he had enough with the series, with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He didn't need to do a Hobbit trilogy. He just didn't. Even if it was just one film, I think it would have appeased fans.
Quite possible, but I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, exactly. On to our first Blu-ray and DVD of the week. It's Unbroken. It's directed by Angelina Jolie. It's not her directorial debut. Film-wise, she did a movie in 2011 called In the Land of Blood and Honey. And she also did a documentary about 5-6 years ago as well before that. So, yeah, this is a second film, but this is more of a mainstream movie. The first film that she directed was very, like an indie kind of movie. Maybe it's her just testing the waters, see how she was able to handle a movie, directing a movie. And so this is the first big film that she's done. And she's chosen an interesting film to do because this tells the story of Louis Zamperini, which was... he was famous for being one of the fastest men on the planet at the time in the 1930s. And it stars Jack O'Connell, who plays Louis Zamperini. And the start of the film, it just tells the story of his life, about from when he was a young kid, an Italian young kid, grew up in America, being bullied a lot because obviously he was Italian and they didn't like that kind of thing. And then ultimately turning that bullying into a much more positive thing with the help from his brother and in training, and then growing up to be one of the fastest people on the planet, breaking a world record at the Berlin Olympics in 1936, and then him ultimately becoming a World War II pilot in a plane that crashes, and he ends up being abandoned at sea with a couple of his fellow people who were on the plane itself, where he is captured by the Japanese and put into a prisoner of war camp, one of two prisoner of war camps, which he ultimately ends up in. And the film just tells the chronicle of his life about how he managed to survive in this prisoner of war camp. Here's a clip.
I'm gonna kill him.
Then they shoot you.
I don't give a damn. Let him shoot me.
That's not how we beat him. We beat him by making it to the end of the war alive. That's how we do it. That's our revenge.
If I can take it, I can make it.
Precisely.
My brother Pete used to say that. He used to think that I could do anything. He used to think that I was better than I am.
Who says you're not?
And in that clip there, you heard Domhnall Gleeson, who plays one of his friends, who is somebody who is in this prisoner of war camp with them. He plays Phil. And you've also got this horrible person who's in charge of the camp, who's a despicable character, who's played by Takamasa Ishari, who plays Watanabe. And you've got Jai Courtney in the movie as well, who has a fleeting appearance in the film, which is a good thing, considering how much I don't like that actor. Even though over the last few films that I've seen him in, he's done pretty decent. The Water Diviner, which I thought was okay film. He's got a role in that movie, and it's a very understated role, so he's might starting to turn the corner a little bit from the terrible, horrible movies that he's done in the past. The thing with Unbroken is, it's a big story for Angelina Jolie to tackle, and for the most part, she doesn't get it right, unfortunately. There are parts in the movie where she does get it spot on, specifically casting Jack O'Connell. I know she might not have had the hand in casting the people in the film, but the way she directs Jack O'Connell and the way he handles his character is really well handled. It's not the best of the three films that he did last year that was starred up. I thought that was by far the best one. The worst one I thought was 71, because I think there was a bit of an overrated performance in that one, but he handles his character brilliant. He portrays Louis Zamperini fantastically, from when he is training to be the fastest man to all the trouble and turmoil that he goes through in the prisoner of war camps. Now, the part of the movie that didn't work for me is the prisoner of war camp stuff, because Angelina Jolie, she plays it a bit too safe. It's a horrible, desolated and dark area, and there are only fleeting moments of the film where you do see how nasty it is in there, where you do see Watanabe treating specifically Zamperini discourse or discount or just being really nasty to him, because the Japanese hated the Americans for what they did to Japan. And so obviously they treat them like war criminals and they treat them as badly as they possibly can. But it always, and with it being about Zamperini's story, it's all about him. But it's only times when you see that, and she doesn't handle that really well. I think she handles the first part of the movie better. And I would have liked to see the story itself, even though she can't change it that much because it is based on a true story. It is based on the life of a proper person. It would have been interesting if she didn't do that, if she went with a movie where it's centered around somebody who was training to be the fastest person on the planet, who wanted to go to the Olympic Games, and ultimately ended off crash landing in the middle of the ocean with a couple of friends, and it's just about his survival with those few people in the middle of the ocean. Instead of doing a 3-parter where it's about him training at the first little bit, where it's him in the ocean in the second little bit, and where it's him in the prisoner of war camp at the last little bit, extend the first 2 parts. And that would have been a much more interesting film, because that's where I found the movie interesting. I just lost my way with the film in the last part because she plays it way too safe in a grimy, desolated area.
I have to disagree with you. I think it was done very well. I think very well done, and I think the story is a very, very good performance piece, yes, but also that it has a sense of scale to it, which it needs to have for this story and for showing the whole thing of the camps and everything that were happening at the time in war and the things that went on. And I actually thought it was really well done. I was really impressed with it, it's especially, not meaning to sound bad against women, but it's not the typical kind of film that a woman would be the person you would expect to direct it. And I think that she did a fantastic job with it. I think not even meaning for a woman, I think just as a director did an absolutely fantastic job with it. And I think it was a really, really good piece of cinema and a really, really good piece of storytelling. And the scale of it, I think, really is what tipped it for me.
But if you're going down the route of women directors directing very gritty films, you just need to look at Catherine Bigelow, who handles those movies with brilliance, with Zero Dark 30, especially when she's not afraid to show the nastiness of it. And
that's why Catherine Bigelow is one of my favourite directors. Never mind the fact she's a woman, just as a director. And Angelina Jolie, if she continues down this way, she'll be one of my favourite directors again, no matter that she's a woman or not. It's just from being a directing standpoint, I think.
I just felt like she played it too safe with the prisoner of war camp stuff. It is meant to show the turmoil that not just, I know it is all centered around Zamperini's life, but you need to see a lot more of the other characters surround them. There is one scene which I think she handles really well, and it's the scene where Zamperini has to get punched in the face by everybody in the camp, because she leaves the camera onto that scene long enough where you get the impact. It could have gone on too long or it could have been too short, but the way she handles that scene, and the fact that you see the connection of the punches from a few people, and then all of a sudden it goes from being light to dark, so you get the feeling that time has gone by and that everybody has had their turn on punching him, and you just get it from a distance, so you just see a limp body just fall down. And I think she handles that. She handles that brilliantly. I also loved the scene where he is just standing there and he's got that plank of wood on his shoulder. And then over time, again, she leaves the camera on the scene just the right amount of time without it feeling too long or feeling too short. And you know that he needs to pull together a lot of energy. And she pans the camera around to a few of the people who are watching, eagering him on to actually lift that plank of wood above his head and ultimately give him the positiveness that he needs. And so at times she handles it really well. I just think the rest of it is just not handled as well as other directors would have been able to do. But this is down to the fact that it is only her second film that she's directing. And so she's not a director, she's an actress, and she's trying to see what she can do. And I'm eager to see what she comes up with next, because it is signs that there is a director in her. There is a proper gritty director in her. She just needed to pull it out more. And my guess is if she had somebody who's done these kind of films before on the team with her, on a production credit of some kind, that might have helped it more so.
I mean, saying those scenes in particular made me think of the scene in 12 Years a Slave, with where the character is left sort of hanging and sort of standing there on a noose, waiting for him to fall and hang himself, basically. And that's those scenes, the pacing and the patience of the film that it has is what that reminded me of, and things like that. So I mean, that's where I just think it got more right than it got wrong, is the thing. And I think a lot more right than it got wrong, not just slightly, but a lot of it. I think it got more right than wrong.
Yeah, and you would probably have expected much better from writers in the Coen brothers, because the Coen brothers was the ones who wrote the film, and so you might have expected a bit more from them, considering if you look at the background of that kind of films that they've done, they do darkness brilliantly. So it would have been interesting if they brought more of that into it. But my guess is she was trying to play it safe, because the fact that it is a bigger scale movie to what she did in the past.
Well, should I go on to the next film then?
Yep.
Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, which is the long title for the film. It's written and directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu. And it's a stage play drama which is centered around the character of Regan, played by Michael Keaton, who is playing. It's kind of a sort of a pastiche of himself. He's playing an actor who used to be very well known for playing a superhero character, the title character of Birdman. He's now sort of a bit of a washed up actor, doesn't have much of a career. He's put all his money and all his efforts into making this stage play of an adaptation of a book for Broadway, and the film centres around the sort of the planning, the leading up to the practices on stage, the dry runs and everything of him and the cast around him, while he's trying to get it all sorted out, get the visuals sorted out, and things sort of seem to be going not too badly. Okay, almost, and then they have a problem where one of the actors ends up having an issue with a stage light falls and hits him on the head. Here's a clip.
We don't have an actor, and if we cancel the first preview, the press is going to smell blood, and we can't afford to lose any more money at all.
Okay, what do you think I should do?
Well, we hired an understudy. Let's use the understudy. No. Regan, listen to me, please, for the love of God. Listen, our perfect dream actor is not going to knock on that door and go, "Hey, fellas, when do I start?" You know?
Can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah, what's up?
Did you find another actor?
No.
Okay, well, Mike's available.
He is?
Mike who?
I thought he was doing the thing.
He was. He quit. Or got fired.
Mike who?
Which is it, quit or fired?
Oh, with the Mike, it's usually both.
Mike who?
Shiner.
Yes!
Jake.
Oh my gosh, how do you know Mike Shiner?
We share a vagina.
You think he'd want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know?
Because he told me he wanted to do it.
Jake, yes.
Asked me if he sells tickets.
Fine, does he sell tickets?
He sells a load of tickets.
Okay.
Now ask me if the theater critics love him.
The theater critics love him.
They want to on him.
Hey!
Leslie?
Right on his face.
Everything for a reason, right?
You think he'd come in this evening?
I'll call him and find out.
I'll call his agent.
So the thing is, you've got in this film, you've got quite the cast. You've got Michael Keaton, as I already said. You have in there, you had Zach Galifianakis doing a very good acting job, not being an annoying sort of trying to do comedy stupid things. Naomi Watts, you heard in that clip as well. You have Edward Norton, who pops up for a while, and you have Emma Stone also playing the character of Sam, which is Regan's daughter. And the thing is, you have a great but weird film here, because the fact that it is a comedy drama, it is centered around this stage play, but it's shot in a weird way that even though you can tell it's been put together from different shots and different cuts and things like that, it's done in a weird way to show kind of the camera flowing smoothly between scenes, between locations, to almost show it as if it's being shot on one camera, and it has this quality of being like a stage play on film, and it's a really engrossing, I thought, really well done. The thing that's really impressive about it is the writing and the performances, the dialogue, the characters, the camera movement around the characters while it's happening. That it's just visually impressive for not having sort of big visuals. It's all the sound is your ears pipe up at all the dialogue and the things going on, and there's bits in it which are sort of to the point of being ridiculous but funny, and being surreal without completely losing the audience. And that's the thing that's amazing about it, is that considering that all those elements, it should be a train wreck. It's not. It comes together in a beautiful way, and I've got to say I loved it, and I understand why it was the winner of the Oscars for Best Motion Picture of the Year, Best Achievement in Directing, Best Writing Original Screenplay in particular, and Best Achievement in Cinematography, because it deserved to win them.
It's sort of like what Inarritu does with these films. He's an interesting director because he's done everything from Amores Perros, which annoyed the hell out of me because there's a sequence in that film which I hated. It involves dogfighting, and I hate anything to do with animals getting hurt. But he's also done movies like 21 Grams and Babel and Beautiful, and so he's known to direct like strange-ish kind of movies, and these are the kind of quirky films which puts a lot of people off because it feels like it's quirky for quirky's sakes. But it's just handled so brilliantly. I think that's down to how Michael Keaton is in the movie. I think he's just fantastic in the film. It's sort of like done a Matthew McConaughey in a way. I'm not saying the word that people use with McConaughey's surname, which is I find it really annoying. But yeah, he's sort of like, yes, I hate that. Yeah, he's sort of like done that and turned the corner again. Keaton just coming back to the forefront going, yeah, I can act and I'm going to do an interesting, quirky kind of film. And that's what he's done with this. And he's surrounded by such a strong supporting cast as well in like Emma Stone and Zach Galifianakis, who annoys the hell out of me. But I really liked them in the film, and Naomi Watts and actors and actresses like that. So the film itself... I
should shout out as well, I forgot, because she's very good in this, Andrea Riseborough as well, because I forgot to mention her, and she's brilliant in the film too.
Yeah, so it could have been a film, like you said, that would have been a car crash of a mess, but because it is so quirky and weird and interesting, it's not, because it feels like, in a way, telling the story of Michael Keaton's career.
Yeah,
he's mirror image of Birdman in down to Batman form as well. There is one scene where he does look like he is about to morph into Batman. So it feels like it's an autobiography on Michael Keaton, and I'm glad he's got the cojones to take on a role like this. Just say, I am doing a pastiche of myself in this, so this is how I'm going to portray the character in the movie. So well done for him to do that, and I love the style as well. It just has that free-flowing style where you are following somebody. So it's an enjoyable film, but it is one of those movies where I think it is, you like it or hate it. You'll not find yourself in between.
Yeah, a fantastic film.
Yeah. Automata, directed by Gabe Ibanzi, and it's starring Antonio Banderas. And it's set in the near future, around about 2040, somewhere in that time there. And most of the population is being killed off after storms. And so you've got a small amount of people, which there is a company called the ROC, which have created these automata robots, which live by two rules, security protocols. They can't harm a human, or they can't alter themselves. However, it seems to be the latter is being broken, and these robots are getting found where they have been altered. And so Antonio Banderas plays Jacques Vucan, who works for the ROC, who was sent in to investigate insurance claims about what's actually happening, and ultimately discovers how these robots are altering themselves. Here's a clip.
I ain't fooling anybody. Yeah, I crank up once in a while. We all do over here, but I know the limits. And I definitely know the difference between a clunker welding a pipe and another one welding his leg.
The only way to prove you're not crazy is to find a locksmith who altered that unit.
Yeah, right. Maybe, Wallace, you should place an ad in the paper. Or better yet, find a new dealer. Yeah, think what you want. But I saw that clunker turning its guts inside out. End of story.
Cripple, get out of the road!
Your wish is my command.
Shit, move!
Man, it was staring at me. Hit its hands like that was fully aware. It was doing something it wasn't supposed to do. Fellas, I didn't shoot that clunker because it was staring at me. I shot it because it looked alive.
Now, the thing with Automata is it's a really bad film. It's a horribly bad film. It tries to be very much like what Movies like District 9, it's got hints of District 9 into it. It's got hints of Blade Runner into it. It tries to be this dystopian, futuristic kind of film, and it fails on every single level because the constructed design of the robots themselves are horrible. Melanie Griffith does the voice of one of these sex robots, and it's very uncomfortable because she's in the film, and then all of a sudden she's one of these sex robots as well. And this is supposed to be people who go to these robots and enjoy their time, yet it would put you off for the rest of your life. So the design of things is bad. The acting is awful. Antonio Banderas feels like he's robotic himself, like he's being replaced by a robot. You've got the supporting cast of Dylan McDermott, who's just there to cause trouble at times, and you've also got Andy Nyman in the movie as well. And again, he just seems to be like a sidekick who doesn't have very much else to do in the film. And I found the film to be boring. It plods along with very little happening, and you don't care about any of the characters. You don't care about Vulcan's plight, the fact that he's got a wife who's pregnant, but he ultimately wants to move away from the city because he feels too cramped in now and he wants a more mundane life. But the film itself is mundane. It's bad. It's really bad.
I don't think it was as bad as you made it out, but I think that it's a film that it's trying to reach. It has goals that are far out of reach, and it tries to reach for them, even though it knows it can't, and it shouldn't. But it still tries and does fail largely. I think it's very misjudged in what it wants to do and what it can do, because it is a small budget film, but it's trying to be a big budget thing. And it has some amazing shots in it, some things that do look really impressive. It's got a great visual style, but it does fall apart the more the film goes on because of the fact of it just feels very rushed. It doesn't feel as if the characters are well thought out. It feels as if it also doesn't really know how to end the story. And I really wanted to love it. I saw the trailer for this and really, really loved the look of it. And then I was able to see the film, and I was really kind of... It made me kind of go, what happened there? Because it looked... I mean, you normally get that thing, the trailer always looks better than the film. But the trailer had a quality to it that made you actually, it looked like this could be a big thing for a small indie film. And you honestly came out going, well, it had the potential, it just didn't do it. And that's a shame. I don't think it's a total failure as you're saying, but I think it's definitely far from anywhere near close to being successful and being what it wants to be, partly because it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah, it's from an inexperienced director, because he's only done a couple of films in the past anyway, and this is his first English language movie as well. And it's when you hear a movie also that is being funded by multiple countries as well, it's not like an American film, it's from like 5-6 different countries, then you sort of get the slight worry, because I was supposed to review 2x2 in the cinema section, and that's being funded by 6 different countries, including Ireland. And so you start to get the worry there, especially when the budget, in this case, is $7 million as well. The idea that he had majorly outstretches the budget that he was given. But I thought that what he did with the budget, it was bad. It just the film itself feels like a movie that it definitely is direct to DVD. It doesn't have any scope above itself than cinema at all. But it's just badly handled in every way, shape and form. Right, that's it for the Blu-ray and DVD releases of this week's show. TV movies of the week.
I've actually got a few this week.
Ditto.
One of which I'm pretty sure you've got as well. So I'll leave that one to last. The first one I've got is Wednesday, 6th of May, and it's on Film 4, but it's my only Film 4 film. It is 9 o'clock, and it's Silver Linings Playbook, which is the one with Jennifer Lawrence. And it's a one with sort of a good drama focusing around these two people who end up having to sort of learn to do a sort of a dance thing, but they're both sort of mentally unbalanced. So it's a very interesting drama and great performance thing as well. It's also starring the actor that's also in Limitless, which is on Saturday 9th of May on E4 at 9 o'clock. That's Bradley Cooper, so he's in both of those films. And then my third film, which is the one I suspect you have as well, which is on Sunday, the 10th of May.
Yep.
Channel 4, 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Prometheus.
Yes.
Which it is Ridley Scott going back to the Alien franchise, but doing something different. And I actually think a film that if you you've seen it and you have issues with it, which there are certain things, certainly there's issues there, but if you've seen it and you didn't like it, give it another watch, because it's one of those ones that your mind will work out things about it afterwards.
Yeah, it's got some interesting ideas in the film. I've seen it a couple of times. I do own the 3D Blu-ray as well, which is by far the best version.
Did you?
Yeah, I've owned it for quite a while now, but it's the best version to have, the 3D Blu-ray, because it does have that huge documentary on it.
It's like 5 hours long.
Yeah, so it has that big, massive documentary on it. But yeah, you appreciate the film and the ideas and the scope that Ridley Scott's had, and the fact that it is a prequel to a prequel, because the sequel to the prequel is happening soon, and then we get the next Alien film, which it's got to be a much more messier franchise than the Fast and Furious one to piece together by the end of it. But yeah, this is a prequel to a prequel, because the prequel to the original film hasn't happened yet. The other two films that I've had to add to that is straight after Prometheus on Channel 4 is Piranha, the Alexander Aja remake. Please watch it, because it is. I watched today Zombievers. Now, I have a penchant for very cheesy, over-the-top, silly horror films. I love them for some reason. They're the kind of movie where if you've had a stressful day or a bad day, or you don't want to watch something serious, you just put something silly on and just enjoy it. I love like Return of the Living Dead and movies like that. They make me giggle, but you get a copious amount of gore. Alexander Aja, I think this is better than the original, and he handles the film with such brilliance. It is very popcorn. It's very 18, very, very gory, but it's very enjoyable, and so that's an interesting double bill. That. And my other choice is it's on Tuesday the 5th on 5-star at 10 o'clock. It's Wrong Turn. It's a series that's in 6 films, but only watch the first one. The second one sort of like falls in the category of cheesy horror movies, and so there's a few interesting deaths in that one, including one in a sawmill, which will make you cringe badly.
There's one I've actually seen it as well, and I have to say it's got one of the most. It's got a really creepy, impressive death involving an axe in a tree.
Yeah, so it's a really well handled horror film. It's got Eliza Dushku in it. Who people might know her from Buffy and Dollhouse, and so yeah, I thought it was a really well handled film. It's just a pity that after that, the rest of the series just went into hell. Well, after number 2 anyway, because 3 is bad, 4 is horrible, 5 is atrocious, and 6 is just slightly better than 5, slightly. Right, that's it for this week's show. Your movie of the week before we do the shout outs.
Well, in cinema, it is going to be Far From the Madding Crowd, even though I've seen Unfriended as well. It's not Unfriended. Far From the Madding Crowd in cinema, but on home release, Birdman.
I'm just going to stick up for Unfriended. Unfriended is my movie of the week. I'm not going to do a DVD one. I'll just say Unfriended. But it would be Birdman. Yeah, maybe. But try to see Unfriended in a screen where if you see a lot of people in there and they don't look like horror fans to you, walk out. Just ask for your money back. Only go to see it if you're going to see it in a screen full of horror fans, or if the screen is practically empty, because you're not going to enjoy it with people talking all the way through the film. But again, we could be on the show for the next 2 hours if we go through that kettle of fish. That's it for this week's show. Make sure you check out the website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can also give us some feedback, either in Spreaker when the show is finished, or on iTunes, or on any of the Android podcast apps that you can get now. We're on every single one of them. Once we're attaching ourselves to one, we're like an infectious disease, and we infect every single one of them, because I've been checking out a few of them and our show is there, because what they do is to pick the stream up from iTunes. So our show is on on any app podcast wise, on the App Store on Android as well. You can also give us some feedback on Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, on Twitter @Monday Movie Show. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole. Andrew's at EHDVD, and you can email us mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Followwithanerd.com is the website of our friends. They have a show on a Thursday night, and then we've got Stuart at From Page to Screen. Just go on to Twitter, From Page to the number 2 Screen, and you can see his multitude of shows that he has. So we'll play you out with a clip from a movie that we will be reviewing on next week's show, hopefully on Monday, hopefully not 9:05.
I haven't decided yet.
Oh, so you decide on when we do the show or not?
I may not be able to Monday because I may be at something else. But we'll sort it out. Yeah. We'll sort that.
Yeah, but let's hope it's not like 9:05 or whatever if it's on a Sunday, because I hate it when that happens, because I'm recording on Sunday as well with a different show. But we'll play you out of a clip from a TV series that's been turned into a movie starring, in this instance, Kit Harington from Game of Thrones fame. You probably hate it when people just say Kit Harington, Game of Thrones fame. He's probably saying, please at least give me some credit for other films. I was in Pompeii.
Yeah, Pompeii as well.
Yeah, you don't want that to be on the top of your resume, though. You want Game of Thrones to be there.
Starring the star of Pompeii.
Yeah, he's in Spooks the Greater Good. So until next week, make sure you check out the website on Thursday. I'll probably give you a hint on when the next show will be. So until then, goodbye.
Bye.
What am I doing here, Harry?
I need to find someone outside the service that I can trust. It's a short list when you take off the drunk, the mad, and the dead. It's quite telling, the fact that the closest thing I have to a friend is someone who thinks I ruined his life.
You're finished. You're coming in.
Kazim's escape was sanctioned by someone at the very top of the service. By one of the people who asked you to track me down. That's why I had to disappear.
You had Kazim. You let him go.
I had no choice. He's our only connection to the traitor. Once he's in the system, he'll be silenced.
He's planning an attack. If they can't stop him, it'll be on you.
This is bigger than Kazim, Will. Someone wants to destroy the service itself.